Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only podcast that, like the Cardinals, is falling further and further behind. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hi, Nate.
Oh, a tiny little bit. If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. Hambone.
Hey.
Christmas is all around us.
Oh, bowl full of jelly.
Yes, yeah. You looking in a mirror? Hey. Yeah, this is our after episode before Christmas, before the holidays really kick in. We'll be back next week, right after.
Yeah.
If we survive, if we don't get ran over by a reindeer, I suppose. How you feeling?
We are not grandmas.
I am not grandma. How you feeling? I know you despise Christmas, so is your tiny shriveled little heart, are you up in your little home at the top of the twisted little mountain ready to eat a bunch of whoos or whatever?
100%. Yeah, I this weekend I spent some time with some family, and I think I shouted multiple times, we should abolish gift giving. We should abolish gift giving.
Wow. Bah humbug.
Yeah, bah humbug, a big bah humbug. I mean, it's not fun to talk about because I know people like getting excited about Christmas, but I don't like the travel. I don't like the gifts. I don't like, it's just not my jam.
Yeah, well, you're traveling to come and stay with me, so I don't like the travel either.
Yeah, it's bad for everyone. I will say, I get to spend time with you and your lovely family, and I get to see your beautiful children open up their gifts, and they're very sweet and cute, and that part is nice. But everything else kind of sucks.
Yeah. Cookies.
Oh, wait. Okay. No, cookies are good. I'm on the cookie thing for sure.
Yeah. You just spent a weekend in Minnesota. Was that there, eh? Was that a good time?
Twin Cities, babies.
Yeah. Two cities.
I was trying to think of a joke of like the twins, how guys, how us guys like twins. But I couldn't think of anything. So yeah, we had a great time. The Midwest.
Do us guys like tweens?
Oh, we love twins.
Sure. They look the same.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that.
It's the ultimate male fantasy.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like Miller Lite ads in the early 2000s that were all about the twins?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not making that up. That's what guys like. That's what guys like us like.
Yeah. Just a couple of dudes hanging out talking about tweens.
It's twins, not tween, to be very specific.
Oh, God, yeah.
I want to make sure that that's coming across properly.
Yikes. Let's shut it down. We'll be right back.
Okay. All right. We're back, guys.
We're back.
No, Minnesota was good. My dad lives up there. And Wilco, the band Wilco, Schmilko, if you're not a Wilco fan, what the hell are you doing, dude?
Wow.
But we got to see them. We got to go to Paisley Park, and we had a couple of nice dinners. It was a lovely little trip.
Paisley Park, a place I've definitely always wanted to go to.
Dude.
So in case anyone's not familiar, that's Prince's home, and it's essentially turned into a museum at this point, right?
It's a warehouse. It's something like 50,000 square feet, and it's where he created music, movies, his office, living quarters, party space, everything. Yeah.
Was it very purple?
It was quite purple, my friend. It was purpler
like
than
Dinger
you would
himself.
Think. It was, dare I say, more purple than Dinger. He had it was the whole place is set up as he left it, because obviously he died very suddenly.
Sure.
And it's been turned into a museum. And literally, if there were scraps of paper on his desk, if there were notes, if this was that way, they obviously move things when they clean, but they do it their best to kind of have it exactly as he left it. So you see, his purple conference phone that he had in his office, and The last DVD he was watching was a Jimi Hendrix concert, like documentary type thing.
There's no way it was something that cool. It was fucking. Dude, it was like
Prince.
It was like Meet the Fockers or something, and they've swapped it out to say, yeah, he was watching a Jimi Hendrix documentary.
I would agree with you if it was literally anyone else in the world other than Prince. I don't think Prince had like an uncool moment.
It was Nutty Professor 3. That we all know this.
I think you would brag about that if that was in there because that's clearly a classic.
I'm imagining you walking in there and sneezing and all these like delicate papers going everywhere and fluttering around.
It was a little more put together than that. But yeah, the coolest part about it was we got to play ping pong on one of Prince's ping pong tables.
Funny. So they just have that open, or did you like break through a barricade?
It's in one of his recording studios is a ping pong table, and you can like play a round on it in Prince's recording studio with his ping pong table, with his paddles. It was awesome.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty like, you think about long-term wear and tear of letting the gross public touch something, but a ping pong table could probably just last forever.
And also like,
whatever.
Who cares? Like I'm obviously that was a possession of his, but like I think the guitars and the outfits and the shoes and everything is a little more, yeah. But it was. I mean, I never thought I'd be able to say that, but I got to do that, and
one of those things that you never thought you would want to be able to say, but also now you can. You played Prince's ping pong table.
Try to say that, yeah, exactly.
Prince's ping pong table.
I felt very cool. It was. It was great. The guitars were amazing. All the intro, all that stuff. It was just super cool. And again, it's this like entire building, the size of a warehouse, made for one man and his exploits. And it was just crazy seeing space. It was just wild. It was the coolest thing ever. Really
Lots
had a great
of tiny
time.
shoes.
Dude, we looked it up. He had a 22-inch waist.
That's like Mark McGuire's forearms are probably bigger than that.
He was 5'2" with a 22-inch waist. Like just seeing his, tiny man.
Yeah.
Pocket-sized man.
That's pretty incredible. Have you ever been to Target Field?
No. But we were plotting and scheming. I think maybe this summer I'm going to mosey my way on up there and catch a Twins game.
Oh God, I didn't even Twins. Nice. Dude, we just love Twins.
Oh, it's a guy thing. Okay. So if you're, and I'm sorry if you're, but it's a guy thing, folks.
Yeah, I've been outside of Target. It's still Target Field, right?
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. Do you see the White Sox stadium is now called Rate Field?
Yeah, they should just burn that thing to the ground.
What a boring. I mean, they're all boring names, but Rate Field just
I think
feels
we
bad.
are, being Cardinals fans, we are especially, spoiled by Busch Stadium just works.
Well, it's lucky that our branding just flows well, you know, because ultimately it's not. I know there's the St. Louis history and whatnot, but like it's just sort of lucky that their last name was Busch and it flows pretty well, and it's not something like Heininger Field or something like that.
But even that would be better than what it used to be called, Guaranteed Rate Field or Rate Field or Lone Depot Park. And I mean, a last name I think goes or Wrigley Field. Like that's just a last name, Yeah. It goes. I think that is so much better than some of these stupid insurance company and loan companies and all the shit.
Yeah, City Park here in St. Louis, the STL Cities stadium is now Energizer Stadium.
Yeah,
which I mean, it's that's a little better than like Guaranteed Rate Field or whatever. And Energizer has a St. Louis connection, and it's like, ooh, fun energy, I guess.
Yeah,
but it's boring. City Park was a lot cooler, but it's mostly the only reason it was called City Park is because they lost the sponsorship like a month before the stadium opened, and they just did that and now have a sponsor. But I think it's going to be like everyone's going to just call it City Park forever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, which is how all of these things work. Like even if they were to rename Busch Stadium to something else, Tums Field or whatever, everyone would still call it Busch
Purina
Stadium.
Park. Yeah.
That's not even that bad. I hate it more than Busch, but
sure,
it would work.
Yeah. Well, we're riding the ebbs and flows of the hot stove right now.
We got a pack show today. You're dilly-dallying, Nate, at the top. We got a pack show today.
We got a pack show. Wouldn't you know, we've got more Arenado to talk about.
Yes, we do.
You want to give us an update on the current trade chatter around Arenado?
Yeah, well, I got to give credit where credit is due. Katie Wu did a Q&A on The Athletic. So this information is coming from her. This actually dropped a couple hours before we hopped on mic today. So hot off the Katie Wu Athletic Digital Press, the Houston Astros have become serious contenders for Mr. Nolan Arenado. The Dodgers are not. The Boston Red Sox and Yankees, to an extent, continue to check in with the Cardinals, but it's believed both organizations have higher priorities before pivoting to a potential Arenado deal. For example, even after acquiring Garrett Crochet, the Red Sox are still looking to add to the rotation. This takes precedence over other needs, such as adding a right-handed bat like Nolan Arenado. So I think the big news there is, the Dodgers really not being interested in pursuing him, and even to pursue, or larger than that news is that the Astros have kind of come into the chat as far as teams that are interested. And, we haven't talked about them because they were not listed as one of the teams that he would allow himself to be traded to, because, of course, he has that robust no trade clause that, he is really as control of his situation as he can possibly be. But it makes a lot of sense. Like, their starting third baseman right now is Isaac Paredes, who they just traded. We'll talk about that trade, the Kyle Tucker trade, a little bit later in the episode. But Isaac Paredes, not a great third baseman.
No.
He could go slot in at first base. He could also DH, along with Yordan Alvarez. And then they could bring in Nolan Arenado, which you get, what is it? 3 years, 64-ish million when you take into account all of the financial things from the Rockies. And they don't have to go drop 6 to 8 years on Alex Bregman. And I get the sense that the Astros are, with the trade of Tucker and everything else that's going on over there, they are thinking about money right now. So it's kind of adding up. And then I guess to button this, you would have to imagine that Arenado, unless he's got some personal beef with Jose Altuve or something like that, that he would waive that no trade clause because the Astros never don't make the playoffs. So that would be fulfilling the thing that he's looking for.
Yeah, when you talk about him wanting a team with the foot on the gas that plans to compete every year during the length of this contract, it's hard to find a team that we haven't discussed already that fits that bill more than the Houston Astros. I do wonder if he would have some concerns about the Kyle Tucker trade, because it's very hard to say on the one hand that you're trying to compete and on the other hand trading one of the best players in baseball for an interesting package. But you can also understand why the Astros might have done that to capitalize on his value. But again, I don't know. So it makes sense from just a roster construction standpoint. I think he fits really well with that team. I'm not as abreast to their current system, but based off of everything we've been hearing recently, which we do have some quotes here, continue to reinforce that this is probably not going to be a huge package in return for Arenado. So it kind of doesn't matter if they have like an elite farm system if they're just trading for Nolan Arenado by himself.
Well, what a great setup for this next thing that I'm going to read, Nate. This is professional podcasting.
Wow.
You wiggling your eyebrows was also very good. I'm feeling it today.
We're locked in right now, baby.
Hell yeah. Is this flow state? Are we flow stating?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I blacked out a minute ago.
Nate is also driving a car right now, so that is very unsafe. From a financial standpoint, we're trying to move our payroll, Mozeliak explained at the winter meetings. There are certainly other ways we can do this, but moving Arenado would be a big help. It's mostly financial, but it also creates runway for someone else. And we'll talk about that someone else in a minute. But I mean, there's what Nate was referencing. There's what you're talking about right there. We are not trying to go get Jacob Melton, the Astros' number one prospect, according to Fangraphs. We're trying to move that $64-ish million, and that's it. So
Is there
I guess I'm not really
boring,
understanding. Yeah. I mean,
is there
please.
a more boring fucking statement that you can hear from your GM than we're trying to move payroll and that's it? Like, I get it. I get it.
God forbid an interesting player comes back.
Yeah. And I know he's trying to set expectations because it's not like we all know why Arenado's not going to return a big package. But when you just say outright, we're just trying to cut payroll, like, cool, man, this is fun. I love this.
Well, and I mean, to that point, if you're just trying to get payroll, are you telling me that there's not a team that's willing to take on Nolan Arenado for 3 years and $64 million? I find that shocking. Like,
right.
I feel like if it's not the Astros, then the Yankees or Red Sox are going to jump on that eventually. Because if you're basically getting a player who put up for WAR for nothing, and all you got to do is pay him some money, big market teams, you would think, would jump all over that. Because even, like, let's say that his bat decreases even more, which you would think, all three of those ballparks would probably help Arenado's offense. He's still a 3-WAR player, right. And who can't use that? Well,
and it, just because they said they're not interested or it's not their priority right now, it's still a long off season. We're only in December.
Right.
And a lot of stuff doesn't happen typically until January. And especially right now, teams are heading home for the holidays and whatnot. So they might just be saying, like, we know we want to add to the rotation. We don't know what that is going to look like from a cost perspective. So we don't want to add the $24 million a year or whatever for Arenado. But we're not saying no. We just need to know what our rotation solution is first, and then we'll circle back. Especially if there's not like a bidding war for him, which it certainly doesn't seem like there is, then why would you bother to press right now? So everything that Mozeliak has said is it certainly seems it's happening, right? Yeah. Someone is going to take that contract and take him. It's just a matter of who.
Yeah. And, it is what it is. You look at these teams and, the Yankees currently, it's Oswaldo Cabrera and Ben Rice are starting at the corners. We've talked about the possibility with what the Red Sox could potentially do and why that makes sense for them. And we just talked, like, they all have a path that makes a ton of sense. I do think, it also seems very likely that that his fate, that Arenado's fate, is tied to Alex Bregman's fate. Will it be a thing where Arenado is traded and then Bregman signs immediately after, or the Bregman signing is what is holding up the Arenado trade? Because if you're the Yankees, maybe you do want Breg, and then if you're the Red Sox, you then pivot, or I guess we'll see what happens exactly. But too big for a third baseman, two relatively similar skill sets. Shockingly, even though I feel like Bregman is getting all the love, they had oddly similar years last year from a production standpoint. But obviously, Bregman is younger.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
To this, we were talking about this last week, and we expressed some confusion, and I guess that confusion got back to Arenado and his agent. So this has been addressed now. But Derek Gould of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch wrote this week that Arenado is of interest to the Angels, but there has been no indication from sources that he spoke with that the Angels are of interest to him. So I don't know where that came from exactly, but Arenado is confirming, no, I absolutely do not want to be an Angel, even though I'm a hometown kid. So maybe that dilutes my theory of baseball players not being as aware of the MLB standings as maybe I thought.
Maybe. At least this one case.
And Arenado, he's a special kind of guy, so he's not a good example.
Yeah.
But
so what are we? Where do we go from here? I mean, are we just waiting on the Arenado trade? Is that just where we just sitting as Cardinal fans waiting for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are. There was something funny that I thought was mentioned from the Katie Wu article towards the bottom half of it. And, I guess two things that I found interesting. One, that was if they are unable to trade Arenado, which seems extremely unlikely, they will, quote unquote, be forced to move a starting pitcher or two to keep payroll down. We kind of talked about this with Miles Michaelis last week. I don't think there should be any forcing. I think that you should be excited to move on from these aging starting pitchers. I understand that innings need to get pitched, but what are we doing here?
Well, and that also seems to indicate that, like, the goal to me seemed to be smarter with the money and reinvest it in a way that made sense for the future of the club. But when you say, if we can't cut Arenado's payroll, we're going to be forced to cut payroll elsewhere, now it's becoming to be rebranded as just simply a pay cut, like a budget cut without the purpose of reinvestment. Now, maybe that's short-sighted. Maybe they mean, like, we have X amount of funds earmarked for the minor league system, and we need this money to we need $20 million from the big league roster to re-diversify down to the minor leagues. I don't know, but they definitely, like, a lot of the statements from all of this just make it seem like a lot less of an exciting rebuild and more of a just we're cutting payroll. Now, overall, still the offseason has been a lot of fun, and we like all the new direction from the new hiring from a front office and coaching staff standpoint. But I just this sort of stuff is just so boring. I keep going back to that word, but, like, I'm super here for a retooling, rebuilding, or whatever. But if it's just going to be completely couched as payroll cut, like, I'm less excited.
So to that point, it was also mentioned that it seems very likely that Eric Fedde will not be traded until the trade deadline, which I think I can see the logic in that. I'm not sure. Maybe they're just not getting great offers for him, and they want to wait until teams are feeling a little bit more desperate, even though then at that point you're only trading a month or two of Eric Fedde services. But all this and kind of where we're rounding is, and I think I have it written on the outline here, is has the Cardinals refresh or retool or whatever the hell they want us to call this, has it been squished? I mean, have they already fumbled the bag? And the reason I say that, Arenado is just a salary dump. We're not going to get anything back from him. Wilson Contreras is not moving because of his no trade clause. Sonny Gray is not moving because of his no trade clause. They have said that they're going to keep Ryan Helsley, who you and I both think is the most tradable asset in baseball right now. What, are we just not going to do it? Are we, like all of these assets that you were supposed to turn into young, talented players or low minor league lottery tickets or whatever the hell you wanted to do, none of that's happening. At least in the way that we thought it was going to happen. So what are we doing?
I know. I'm trying not to. I said it already today. There's still several months essentially of this offseason.
Yes.
Right. And so we super ride the wave on this show. 2 weeks ago, we're like, hell yeah, this is what a rebuild looks like. And then today we're like, what the fuck is this? It's all coming apart, So I'm trying not to just be too reactive. But yeah, I definitely thought there was going to be at least one thing done during the winter meetings that, like, showed some degree of what this is going to look like. And the fact that nothing happened and all we've been hearing is that the focus is on payroll cut is not great. Not great, Ben.
Well, but it's not even that. Like, so I get what you're saying, and that part sucks. But those, I listed out the tradable assets that would net you some type of worthwhile return, and they're not moving any of those guys. The one guy that they are going to move is strictly a salary dump. So how is the club getting better?
Yeah. Well, now let's remember too that what they say publicly is one thing, and what they're doing elsewhere is another. So it's all well and good. It makes sense for them to say we're holding Ryan Helsley, because that's what you say when you don't want to just give a guy away, right? When you're posturing in trades, you say, I'm holding this guy.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay for him is basically what they're saying, right? Which is the opposite of what they're saying about Arenado. They're like, we'll pay you to take him, basically. Yeah. But if you want to maintain a firm hand in a trade, you got to posture a little bit. So I'm not fully convinced yet on the Fedde Helsley thing, because I do think they'll trade him if they get a good deal. Sure. But we did see I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, Ben, but like we saw the return for Devin Williams.
Yeah.
And it does make you wonder, does trading Ryan Helsley right now make sense? What were your thoughts on the return for Devin Williams and how that relates to the Cardinals?
So I think my thoughts might be a lot different than most of the people in Cardinals Nation. The Twins. In the dudosphere that we, whatever. No, I don't think it was as bad as some people were talking. Like, I think some people, I think it's multifactored. First off, you get what is probably for the Brewers, a number 2 or number 3 starter, depending on how Woodruff comes back this year. But like, Nestor Cortez, when he was healthy, he was putting up, sub 4 FIPS and 3+ ERAs in the hardest division in baseball, the most offensive, crazy division in baseball, with those tiny ballparks over there in the NL East. So Nestor Cortez is good when healthy, of course, but he's a pitcher, so that caveat just exists, full stop. And then Caleb Durbin, I know he's a little old, but he is, I think, a pretty interesting guy. Like, you look at his numbers, like you took a closer look at his numbers, and last year he properly broke out. The guy walks more than he strikes out. He steals. He has a little bit of power. He's at second base, third base. He's a utility guy. Have you seen a picture of this guy?
No, I have not.
Well, he's 5'6", 185. He looks like a mini Tyler O'Neill. The dude is yoked out of his mind. And I'm not saying that's all the only thing that matters, but I think this player might be a little more interesting than people are kind of giving him credit. I know, you go look at the Fangraphs future value and it's only 40 and he's not ranked organizationally and stuff like that. But if you actually look at the back of the baseball card, it looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. And they have this guy for the next, if he makes the majors this year, which it seems like he probably will, they have him for 6 or 7 years. So I guess I'm not making my point clearly. Let me take a step back. The Brewers made this trade to make their team better right now. So they got players who are major league ready or essentially major league ready for Devin Williams. If the Cardinals are trying to make this trade, I think that they would dip a little bit deeper into the minor leagues and get something that is a little more or a little less of a sure shot, meaning that I would expect their dollar to go a little bit further. And if you can get 2 quality players for one player who is going to become a free agent anyways, unless you want to re-sign Ryan Helsley, of course, which that is a separate conversation, then I think I would be fine with this kind of return.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of set it up as if I wasn't super excited about the return that the Brewers got, but I actually do think it's a pretty good trade for them. And I think that this is one of those things that we kind of forget the value of an effective start. We haven't seen one in a long time.
Nestor Cortez would be the second best starter in the Cardinals.
Yeah, right behind Sonny Gray as far as results. So, we forget the value of kind of a boring, effective starter in Major League Baseball. And so it is really hard to equate, like, what is a 3 to 4 win player at the Major League level for a single year compared to a package of prospects is like impossible math,
Yeah.
Durbin is interesting. I had seen some of his underlying numbers. There's these guys every year that they break out. They never make it on any sort of prospect list because their breakout and their ascension all happens kind of in the same year, and they're just suddenly Major League Baseball players. And maybe they're not ever like the star of the show or something, but they're producing value for you for years to come. That could be this guy. They either sold high on this dude or the Brewers just got like a really good add-on to this.
The Brewers have been good at this kind of thing recently too. And the Brewers having another speedy, kind of Swiss Army knife type of guy on the infield. I mean, that's kind of what made their team so good last year. So yeah, like I think, and I wonder, maybe I'm putting this out there more than it actually is, but I get the sense that people are looking at the org ranking and his future value ranking and not really looking at his actual performance. And I'm guessing that the Brewers were scouting this guy and really liked him, and I am almost guaranteeing he's going to make a pretty big impact to the big league club next year. At least they're going to try to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they've got some spots for him to start, and we'll see where it goes. But it is also interesting to see the Brewers trade yet again, like a all-star level closer in the middle of being in contention.
But guess what? They're still more competitive than the Cardinals are. They've had a better run recently. So like, obviously it sucks and it's not fun from a fan standpoint and everything like that. But I bet Trevor McGill will close for the Brewers next year, who had a shockingly dominant year.
Yep.
And they'll probably be right back in the playoffs. And, here we are talking about how we can't, trade Wilson Contreras, and we're just kind of sitting here on our hands.
I wonder if the Cardinals will rethink the no trade clause, like candy that they've given out so much over the last few years. They kind of do it for like every major contract. Like even didn't Fowler have a no trade clause, and like Mike Leake had a no trade clause.
Yeah.
It feels like they've done that on every contract.
I mean, I don't know what the numbers are. I'm sure that there's a great article by somebody much smarter than me, but I bet you it's something like the no trade clause is worth 5% of the overall contract. So, and the Cardinals are like, let's save that 5%. I guarantee you that is the math on it, or the thought process on it. Sorry.
Probably. And you can always negotiate. I mean, people are waiving no trade clauses all the time. Yeah. You can just buy them out from it often. So, yeah.
Yeah. But it's, well, also they're always competitive. So it's not usually
it's not a big deal.
It's less of a deal than when, when something like this happens. But yeah, anyways, let's stop talking about the Brewers. Next thing I wanted to talk about, Nate, and you and I have been debating this a little bit, but it was reported by Mr. Gould of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that Nolan Gorman will be the third baseman. He said that is the Cardinals' plan, though they are not going to say so publicly while discussing trades involving Nolan Arenado. Gorman is the plan at third. Nate, your thoughts?
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah.
That said, Gorman was not great at second base. This was his natural position, or at least what he played in the minors. And I am excited that they intend to stick with him. You and I, for years now, have been very hyped on Nolan Gorman. We've got the Gormania. It's been in remission for some time now, but I'm ready for a flare-up, baby. I'm ready for Gormania to spread. It's the new bird flu.
Keep going. Cook, Nate. Cook.
Like drones in the air. I'm looking for topical.
That's topical. I've seen that. Yeah, that was good.
Twins. I guess I'm into it. Like, this is a development year. We both believe that Gorman has one of the highest upsides of all of these guys. He's still super young, and we have seen him successful at the major league level. Pretty big collapse last year, which was tough to see, and he didn't quite like revitalize at the minor league level either. Yeah. But again, like, I'd rather just run him out there and hope it gets right. I'm very interested to see how he does at third after not playing it for a while. And it's going to probably be a steep decline from what we've become accustomed to over the last few years, though few would be able to get even close to Arenado. But overall, I will just be glad to see Gorman playing. And I think it also starts to solve the strange logjam that we've had at second base for a little while now. So I guess I'm supportive of it.
Yeah, I think I'm supportive of it too. And I think it's a little bit of like shit or get off the pot time, Yeah. JJ Weatherholt can play second base. He could also play third base. So try out Gormy at third base, let him run with it for the first 3 months, plus. And if it's not going the way that they want it to go, you can, talk about moving him back to AAA, continue to work on things. You can have J.J. Weatherholt come up and take a whack at being the major league third baseman. It wouldn't surprise me. You got Thomas Sajaci, who could get some reps over there as well. And if Gorman does stick, then, it's I think pretty obvious you have Sajaci and Brendan Donovan and J.J. Weatherholt kind of fight over second base, and Brendan Donovan likely ending up in the outfield because they obviously enjoyed that a bit last year. But yeah, I think it makes sense. And if the point of this year is to see what you got, then like you were kind of getting at, I mean, I think Gorman's the biggest see what you got on the roster right now.
Yeah, and it really is, as you put it, like it's go time for him. I say, I think I saw this going around too. You give him 600 at bats this year, major league level, and if it's not good, then it's time to move on. And whether that means trading him, what?
So no, keep going. Sorry,
okay.
We have breaking news happening right now.
Oh, wow. Well, that's it. Gorman, if it's not good after a full season, then it's time to move on.
All right, late breaking news while we're on the pod. I'm sorry for looking at my phone, but the Astros' pursuit of Nolan Arenado has hit a major roadblock. According to sources, the Astros and Cardinals were in discussions on a potential trade involving the third baseman, but Arenado informed St. Louis that he will not waive his no-trade clause. The Cardinals were willing to send $15 to $20 million to the Astros as part of the deal to help pay down Arenado's salary, sources said, so on and so forth. The Astros, wow. Okay. It's definitely not close. There are ongoing talks, but it's definitely not close. So I guess, that's all we need to know there. Why do you think
cheaters never win?
Why do you think that's why Arenado doesn't want to go to Houston? Why wouldn't you? If you're a baseball player that wants to play in the playoffs, why would you say no to Houston?
I have no idea. I mean, maybe he doesn't want to live in Texas. Maybe there is some strange holdover to like you don't want to be on the Astros. I mean, most of that has died down by now, but there is still some like booing and shit that happens for Astros players. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get a statement from Arenado. Probably not, but that is strange considering his stated intent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm obviously trying to wrap my brain around this in real time. Like, I get why any player in the sport would want to play for New York or Boston, right? It's Boston. You get the ballpark. It's hallowed grounds, everything like that. New York, it's the top of the top. That makes sense to me. But no team has had more success in the past 15 years than the Houston Astros. So I'm surprised by that. But it is what it is.
Well. There we go. I thought you were going to tell me he got traded in the middle of the episode.
I was hoping. I saw Arenado on the Bink. That's why I actually pulled it up. But
okay. Well, quite the opposite. So there you go. It's going to end up being a true salary dump to someone. That's great. So there's an interesting bit there. If the Cardinals were willing to pay up to $20 million of the contract, then it makes you think they might have been actually gaming for a better return than just a salary dump.
I would think so, right? Like, because again, it would shock me that I know Arenado is, on the downside of his career, but he's still a good baseball player last year.
Yeah, I feel like you'd rather just keep him. But I don't know, the Rockies traded him in his peak for they gave the Cardinals $50 million in Arenado.
But the Rockies are not like the 29 other teams. That is clear. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's also the scenario that he sticks here and is traded midway through the season or something else happens. But wild. Hey, we got a breaking news during the episode rather than right after. So
yeah, that is nice.
Take that for the win. Yeah.
We need to talk to Heim and let him know that we really need things done before roughly 2:30 p.m. Central on Wednesdays.
I email him every Tuesday, and he has yet to respond.
Yeah. Well, I think that's everything we have Cardinal related this week, right? Anything else you want to chat about?
Let me just check my phone one more time. All right. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about the some pretty big trades that did happen over this last week and some other things. But before we do, we want to remind everybody that it's the giving season. If you didn't know that, and if you want to support this podcast, this locally produced podcast, all organic, fresh baked podcast, then consider checking out our Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. You've probably heard me talking about it a bunch at this point, but if not, you get access to our Bird Scored. It's our private Discord server. We're having a good time in there. We're not that far away from firing up the fantasy baseball season. Beefy boys. I will regain my title. If you want to play with us and others, if you want to chat with us and others, join the Bird Scored. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. We also appreciate people who take time to leave reviews on their favorite podcast platform and those who tell their friends and family. Podcasts still mostly spread that way. Ben, where else can people find us online and support?
Yeah, we are on all those social things. You can come find us on Blue Sky. We are on Instagram at Talking About Birds. We have a TikTok. You can find us there as well. You can listen to the show on Spotify or YouTube if you prefer that. You can also find all of that information, T-shirts, Patreon, everything at talkingaboutbirds.com. Go check us out there. Share it around. 'Tis the season, as Nate said. Per usual, you can email us thoughts and questions. You can ask Nate what his favorite type of Christmas pizza is. Nate, what's your favorite type of pizza Christmas?
Christmas. Probably pine cone and holly berry.
Ooh, that sounds lovely. Mm-hmm. You could send those questions to talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And of course, you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
All right. Pretty active week for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, no kidding.
And a few others. But let's talk about the big one. We've mentioned it several times already. But the Cubs acquiring Kyle Tucker.
Yeah. You hate to see it, folks. The Cubs and Astros announced that they have made a trade that will send outfielder Kyle Tucker to Chicago for infielder Isaac Paredes, which we referenced earlier, and right-hander Hayden Wesnecki, and prospect Cam Smith, all heading over to Houston. Obviously, Kyle Tucker is the big part of this deal. He's top 10 player in baseball, maybe even higher than that. But they don't make him much better than Kyle Tucker. Yeah. And he's one of those guys that is good at everything. He's got a little bit of speed. He's got great pop. He doesn't strike out a ton. He walks at a great rate. I mean, everything he does is good or elite. He's 20. He'll be 28 years old. The one good thing for Cardinals fans is that this is only 1 year, unless, of course, the Cubs decide to extend him. But this is just this is bad news for Cardinals fans.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Kyle Tucker. Absolutely top 10 player in the league. Not as flashy as your Sotos and your Judges and things like that. But in a lot of ways, like if you're starting a franchise right now, Kyle Tucker might be a pick you'd take over like an Aaron Judge even.
Yeah.
You hate to see him go to the Cubs. I think my take on it is something you kind of just said too, that, if they don't re-sign him, then we actually could be very happy about this. That return that the Astros got is pretty good.
Yeah.
I've never been a big Paredes fan, but he just keeps being very valuable.
Yeah.
And then Wesnecki and Smith are both pretty well regarded. And so, I kind of like the Cubs going all in on a year that the Cardinals are not expected to compete. So I guess go for it. It's going to suck to watch the Cubs win a bunch of games and beat the Cardinals a lot, because I do believe this is a monumental improvement to their team. I think probably the Brewers are still a better team, but you can see how the Cubs don't need much more or even just a little bit of luck to go their way, and they win the Central this year and, have a playoff run.
I mean, is Kyle Tucker all of a sudden the best player in the National League Central? Ellie, yeah. Maybe. Ellie is the only one. No, it's still probably Tucker over Ellie.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one because Ellie probably has the higher ceiling right now, and he's much younger. So, you can dream on a 40-90 season or something from Ellie while playing shortstop and being flashy as hell while doing it. But if you wanted to bet on who's going to have a better season in 2025, the smart bet would be Kyle Tucker by a mile, because Ellie could also strike out 40% of the time and just be bad, and you're just not going to get that from Kyle Tucker.
You're not going to get that from Kyle Tucker, and I think their team they have a lot of good players. Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. We saw Michael Busch do his thing last year. Seiya Suzuki, if he can be healthy, and then them going out and getting the superstar to anchor that lineup, I think it just makes everyone else on the team's life easier, and it complements the team so well. They're a very good defensive team. They have some offensive players, and I don't know. I mean, if they go get a real third baseman, or if they go find another decent bullpen option or two, this team looks really scary all of a sudden. Shota Minaga, I think, is going to have a great year. Justin Steele's going to have a great year. They're set up for success, and I just think that this. I don't know if you could make, on MLB The Show, if you could make a better player for the Cubs right now.
Yeah. And you have to imagine they are not done. They also just traded Bellinger. We'll go into the details in a minute, but they just cleared up a ton of payroll. They've just traded for a single year of one of the best players in baseball. I'm sure they're hoping to extend him, but this wasn't a trade and extend.
No.
So Kyle Tucker may also want to go to free agency and make $1 billion, because he also got a massive raise from the Juan Soto deal. So he probably wants to test the market. Why wouldn't you? So there's a good chance this is a 1-year deal.
Yeah, and for the Cubs to extend him, you would think for him not to hit the open market, it would have to be something like 10 to 12 years and over 35 a year. Yeah. Probably actually closer to 40 a year.
Probably. Right.
Just on what, the market is looking right now. And like I said, Kyle Tucker, we always talk about those players who are relying on one fringy tool, them kind of evaporating into nothing. He's good at everything. So you can just see him aging fairly gracefully, at least for a ball player.
Yeah, well, we talked about all the downside of signing of Soto's deal when he's a DH in a couple of years. I don't know. It'll be
that probably won't happen to Tucker until he's 40.
Yeah, probably won't happen. So this could be good for the Cardinals, but 2025 just got a lot more difficult if you have the fringe hope of everything clicking together for the Cardinals and the NL Central, no one doing anything, and the NL Central collapsing, and the Cardinals sneaking in an 84 win NL Central title.
I think that there's a non-zero chance that the Cardinals have a nice offense next year, and that is about it.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah. All right. There's two other Cubs moves that we'll talk about. Let's do the Cody Bellinger news next. Cody Bellinger has been traded to the Yankees from the Cubs, of course. The trade sent Bellinger and cash considerations to the Bronx in exchange for right-hander Cody Petit, which is a fantastic name.
Yeah. Now this is a salary dump.
Cody
Petit. Now, I know that name. I believe he was a starter at one point for the A's. And
looks like Miami and the Yankees. Okay. And he has 13 started games in his career.
Yeah. So they got something for him. Yeah. But Is this what an Arenado deal might look like? Maybe. But this was I saw it reported earlier this year in the offseason, like the biggest secret in the league right now is the Cubs are looking to dump Cody Bellinger.
Yeah.
And here it is. And it's really worked out for him. I mean, this is a perfect spot for him to land, a left-handed hitter, the Yankee Stadium, et cetera. So the Yankees probably got a steal here. I'm a little surprised that the Cubs are just trying to dump him so hard, but Bellinger's been a strange player. He's had, obviously he has the pedigree, but he's been really hit or miss the last few years, and he's very expensive. And I think the Cubs are probably looking at that, what was it, like $27 million or whatever, and thinking we'd rather spend that on something we know, like a more known quantity.
Yeah. And the fact that they were able to move on from it, and it makes a lot of sense. And for the Yankees, like all the reasons you just mentioned, the left-handedness is his dad was a Yankee back in the day. That's kind of fun. You get to move Judge back to right field from center field, which I think makes a ton of sense. Not to mention, Cody Bellinger can play first base if they need him to. They don't really have a first baseman. So it makes a lot of sense for them. Makes a lot of sense to me that he might have a pretty successful year this year if he keeps pulling that ball to that short porch. And he's a good center fielder. But it's a weird move. It's obviously, when you look at these two moves for the Cubs together, it's a clear upgrade. And I think you'd rather have Pete Crow Armstrong in center field than Cody Bellinger. Not that Cody Bellinger is like a slouch or anything, just PCA might be the best center fielder in baseball, already. Interesting deal though.
Yeah, I mean, last year, Bellinger was really good in 23, 24. He basically was league at 2.2 F4.
Yeah,
he's not getting any younger. They've got PCA. They want him to develop. Adding in Kyle Tucker, they've got the space now to be able to carry a younger guy, let him develop at the major league level. I hate to say it, but it's a good move for the Cubs.
Yeah. And another move for the Cubs, this will be the last one we talk about, I think. Yeah. They finalize a 2-year deal with free agent Carson Kelly to be their backup catcher going forward. I did not know that Carson Kelly is from Chicago. So
I didn't know that either.
Good for him. Good for getting some cash, especially for being a backup catcher that's kind of bounced around and had a weird career. Happy for Carson. I don't like it just from like an aesthetic standpoint, because now I have to look at, a guy who I wished upon him so hard 10 years ago. I wanted Carson Kelly to happen, and it just never did. But
he got his Goldschmidt. So
yeah, he did. And he's turned into like a pretty good, he's a very solid defensive catcher that can hit the ball over the wall every once in a while. So those guys stick around, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you familiar with the Cubs prospect Moises Ballesteros?
No, but that's a awesome name.
It is. He is he's similarly in build to Alejandro Kirk.
Oh, my dude.
I think he's a little taller, but he's 5'8", about 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And he can hit, but he's not a very good defensive catcher. He's young. I don't know if they're planning on him being up this year or next, but you can see them trying to bring in a veteran with some defensive chops to support this guy.
Yeah, that sounds fun. That's my brother in Christ. I hope he can hit.
Yeah, he can certainly hit. The question is if he can stick at catcher.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he had some nice year in the minors last year. Okay, I'm kind of rooting for him in this year. The Cardinals are going to be what they are. All right, the last piece of news I wanted to talk about today: the Athletics acquired Jeffrey Springs in a multiplayer deal with the Rays. So the A's continue to get better. We've heard them miss on a couple of guys. They've signed some guys. They brought in this guy. It's kind of interesting what's happening. It is supremely annoying, I'm sure, for A's fans, former A's fans, that they would even give the appearance of trying immediately after leaving Oakland. But I guess we probably all should have saw this coming.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good move.
Yeah.
Springs, he's older, but when he's healthy, he's been very effective, and they kind of have to go and get guys like this. And I don't know. It's interesting. I think that, I'm trying to like remove all my hatred for what the A's at the top level have done, but just look at them on the baseball level where they, they're more interesting. Like we've talked about them a little bit. They did the Severino thing. They've got Mason Miller. They've got a pretty good lineup. Like, I don't know. You can see it. You can see it maybe starting to come together. I'm not saying they're going to win the AL West, but also AL West is a little up and down right now too.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to do it this year, but you can see it. You can see it starting to come together maybe.
You could. You just
could.
might. But I do find it annoying. But yeah, you're right. I mean, like the Astros aren't the Astros anymore, or what they used to be anymore. The Mariners are doing whatever the hell Jerry DiPoto thinks that he's doing. And then the other teams are kind of, nothing. Or the Angels are kind of nothing.
Well, it's the Angels, yeah. And then the Rangers, who know, they just had a bad season, but they have so many guys,
Yeah, I could see them having a really special year this year as well after their little World Series hangover. But yeah, anyways, that's the news I got for this week, Nathan.
All right. Well, a tighter episode this week, a nice tight Christmas package. I hated that. We're going to wrap up this episode with a final edition of Who Charted StatCast edition. So the first one we did hitting, the next one we did pitching. This one I'm combining fielding and base running.
Wow.
There's considerably less data on fielding and base running on StatCast. So compiled a few here, and I'm going to have you guess the top 3 for the stats that I've outlined. Okay.
I can't think of anything more exciting to finish our StatCast series than to do this.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Okay.
I'm trying to get you hyped up, Nate. Don't give me that look.
I've never been more hyped for anything in my entire life.
Okay.
Twins.
We love them.
Okay. Outs above average.
Wow.
I want you to guess the top 3 for the Cardinals in 2024 outs above average.
I'm going to go, I feel like this is easy. I'm going to go Michael Ciani, Mason Wynn, Nolan Arenado. Final answer, ship it.
You've got 2 of those correct.
Shit.
Michael Ciani, number 1 with a bullet, 16.
Yep.
Nolan Arenado, number 2 with 10.
Okay. Wait. Don't tell me. Okay, so Mason Wynn is wrong then. So I want to insert a different guess that is the Lars Nootbaar.
Incorrect.
Damn it.
Would you like one more guess?
No, I was like, no one else is making sense to me. So no, just tell me.
Brendan Donovan.
Really?
With 6.
God, what a dumb stat. That doesn't make any sense.
We love it when it shows Michael Ciani so high, but we hate it when it shows Brendan Donovan so high.
Small sample size.
If you can't love me at my Michael Ciani's,
no, stop it.
Or at my Brendan Donovan's, then you don't deserve me at my Michael Ciani's.
Was that
Mason
from the
Wynn,
perspective of outs above average?
Yes. Okay. There's a 3-way tie for 4th of Mason Wynn, Brandon Crawford, and
really?
Victor Scott at 3.
How did he even play enough innings to get that?
I know.
That is shocking. All right. Good for you, B. Croft. That's what I call
Bonus question. Who had the lowest?
Who had the lowest? I mean, I know he wasn't up for very long, but my brain points to Jaywalk. Yeah, I think Jordan Walker.
Jordan Walker is the 12th lowest.
What?
This list goes to 15.
Okay.
I'll give you one more guess.
One more guess. Who else? I'm trying to think who was on the team last year. Who did we watch play baseball? Anyone? I guess I'll go with Gormy, even though he wasn't up there that long.
Gorman was the second worst.
Okay.
With -6. The worst was Alec Burleson.
Oh, that makes sense.
-8.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably shouldn't be an outfielder, huh?
No, probably not.
Where else are we going to put him?
I don't know. Probably a lot more DH this year, I'd guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Walker can figure it out.
Success rate.
Success rate.
Yeah. So
I don't think I even know that stat.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. So, and they also do estimated success rate, and then they show like how much they were above or below. But I'm just looking at success rate.
Okay.
Does not align fully with outs above average as you would expect, but it's obviously calculates their expectations for how much someone's going to be successful at making a play, and then it goes from there.
Okay, that's interesting. So like a fielding percentage kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Mason Wynn might be pretty high up there. Nolan Arenado. Yeah, I'll go Arenado. He had a great year defensively last year.
He is not in the top 3.
Really? Okay, that's cool. That's totally fine. I'm not fretting. Give me Mason Wynn. That was my original thought.
Mason Wynn also not in the top.
Oh, this stat is bullshit.
3.
I give up. Who is it?
Yeah, it's interesting because the top 3, this is with no sample size restrictions added. Michael Ciani.
Okay.
95% success rate.
Amazing.
Tommy Pham. 93%.
He didn't play.
I was going to give you, I'm just sliding him in there. I'm just going down the list here.
Oh, okay.
Lars Nootbaar.
Yeah.
89%.
Okay.
Then Victor Scott, 86%.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
So it's mostly outfielders, which I think is interesting. And then Jordan Walker, actually, the next.
Okay, so the stat's worthless.
Well, I guess it's kind of interesting, because I'm guessing it's, it's way more likely to be successful on a fly ball than like a ground ball or a line drive or something. Yeah. Okay. I've got one last one for you. I'm going to ask you to name the top 3 in sprint speed.
Okay. My guess is Victor Scott faster than Mason Wynn. I'm going to guess it is Victor Scott, VS2, number 1. Oh, gosh. I know Ciani's really fast. Go Ciani, number 2, and Mason Wynn, number 3.
So you got 1 and 3. Victor Scott is number 1 with a 99th percentile sprint speed.
Yeah.
You did not get number 2, and then number 3, Mason Wynn.
Okay. My second guess is going to be Jordan Walker because he has surprisingly good numbers like this.
He is surprisingly fast. He is 4th. Wow, it is incredible when you look at these top 3 guys and their body types and their play style. And then you look at Jordan Walker. The fact that he is just barely slower than these guys is incredible. But no, he is 4th.
Shit, I don't know. Jose Fermin?
That's right, Jose Fermin.
Wow, yeah. That was a Hail Mary guess. Okay, wow.
Yeah. Victor Scott, Jose Fermin, Mason Wynn, Jordan Walker, and then Michael Ciani.
Okay.
Jordan Walker is faster than Michael Ciani.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's scary.
We are talking by 0.1 second on sprint speed, but still.
The fact that they're even in the same conversation is wild. Yeah, that's wow. Jordan Walker, he's going to be great, folks. It's going to happen. He'll figure it out. Everything will be fine. We're going to have a lot of fun this year. It's going to be good, okay?
I can't wait. Do you want to guess who was slowest?
Who is slowest? I mean, probably Nato because looks like he's running in underwater.
Third slowest.
Really? Somebody's slower than Arenado.
Two people are slower than him. They're both very obvious when you think about it.
Pedro Pajes.
No. Pajes is fast. Pajes is faster than Burleson.
What?
Yeah. We're talking, fractions of seconds here at this point. But yeah.
Gorman?
Nope. Gorman is faster than Pajes.
I'm naming everybody. Who?
No, you're not, my friend. The slowest player on the St. Louis Cardinals in 2024. Your pick to return, the gritty veteran, Matt Carpenter.
Oh. He was not on my mind at all. Sorry, Carpy.
And then
that was
somehow,
just mean.
Slightly faster than him, Luken Baker.
Yeah. Oh my God. How did I forget about Luken Baker? He's been my pet project all year. That's all right. That's pathetic.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this, for our deep dive of StatCast in 2024. And
Wow.
We hope you all have a happy holiday wherever you are. And we'll be back with another episode. We're probably doing another in-person recording. We're going to be slapping five and talking in the basement. That's the plan.
Just us guys.
I don't like the just us guys runner that you've been doing all episode.
It's good.
I think we need to cut it.
All right. You have the editing machine.
It's broken. All right. So thanks everybody. Happy holidays. We'll be back next week. And until next week, ho, ho, ho.
See you guys.
Talking about